Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashni.
Now, can you unpack for us the need for business and government to look seriously at mining material from gold mine dumps and tailings dams?
Yeah, particularly, tailings dams and gold mines dumps, of course, but there is a lot of this around. And there's a willingness by companies that really know how to get gold out of these dumps to actually go ahead with a lot of projects. They've spoken to us about how well they recover and how there is so much more to do. At this point in time, there's an opportunity to really get the best out of gold. We have this uncertainty in the world. It's continuing. And even in times that are tight, when you're taking gold from dumps in that way, that's when your profit margin is the biggest and your risk is the lowest. So I really think that the mining industry and government need to just put their heads together and say, we've got these legacies. There is huge advantage in actually getting the gold out of them at the moment because the gold price is high. But there's also a fantastic environmental advantage because when you remove these, you actually unlock huge pieces of land. And because of the history of mining in South Africa, there are large stretches that are very close to the city. So you could rebuild the city. It could be a city around a city with new residences and new commercial activities. A great breakthrough, and it would also bring people closer to the city. We know that the travel time is really excessive at the moment. We know that the cost of that travel is high. We know people are spending an inordinate time inside taxis where they could be with their family. And it would be great to look not only at gold at this point, but also at platinum group metals because the prices there are also very high. But why is the basket price so high? Mainly because palladium and rhodium prices are so high. So you need to also play the game in the world. You can't be a supplier into the world and then say, no, but we can't supply. Whereas in actual fact, you could supply if you tried to supply, if you mined more UG2 reef, and also you took more of the metals off the dumps. I mean, we've had a situation now where they found the rhodium in quite a lot of quantities on chrome mining dumps. Now, you don't expect to find it on chrome dumps, but of course, chrome gets mined with platinum group metals, and you end up getting the platinum group metals in the tailings dumps. And, the one company had a record profit. It's going to give special dividends. It shows you that with the rhodium price so high, look for rhodium everywhere and be honorable suppliers. Don't sit there with the price of rhodium 6 times higher than gold and you just faff about and say, well, this is it, we can't give you any more. I think they could give them more, and they must give them more because rhodium is being used to get rid of what they call nitrous oxide. And you can see in China, in Europe, in America, they are trying to get this nitrous oxide out of there. They're determined to get it out there. It's called smog in ordinary language. And you can see as the emission controls tighten, the legislation, they're now at the 6th iteration in Europe and the 6th iteration in China. China is even more strict. It wants those NOx emissions out of the air. And the most efficient way of doing that is to use rhodium as a catalyst. And why do people just sit back? Even when you ask them, during media conferences, they sort of sit back and say, well, there are no such things as rhodium mines. Well, we know that. But we also know that rhodium is mined. We also know that rhodium is put on dumps. Let's get it off. Let's be honorable suppliers. Get that into the market, not just look for very high prices at the moment like they're getting. Because, what will the market do? If you keep giving it a very high price and the rhodium price is excessive, something like $14,000 an ounce, they're going to get their scientists and say, get in the laboratory and find an alternative because this price is spiking out of control. And then you lose the whole market. I think they must be transparent about this. They must start speaking about it. I've put questions out to various companies. I haven't had any responses. So I think that they must really move on rhodium, and we must also move on gold, because gold is a situation now where we could really make money, and it could be a win-win-win for everybody, particularly in built-up areas.
And Australia is currently producing green hydrogen at $2 a kg. Should South Africa be looking into something like this?
It actually shocks me when I hear that from Australia. We were like, how many years? 8 years ahead of Australia in the hydrogen stakes. We've been actually converting, we've been creating hydrogen from the sun since 2012. We know all about this, but suddenly the Australians are streaking ahead. And even what they're calling green hydrogen, we wonder whether it's really green hydrogen, because green hydrogen is really something that you get when you use the sun and the wind, and generally you use the seawater to get the hydrogen and the oxygen, or you use brackish water, and you use water that you can actually clean at the same time at a low cost. That's really what we're calling green hydrogen. I think what people are throwing around as green hydrogen is maybe cleaning up something. You can clean up a dump. It can be a refuse dump, and you can say, well, this is greener than green because this was a polluted area with this terrible dump. It was a waste dump, and we took all the plastic and we took all the bio syngas out of that, and we created hydrogen, and we're doing it at below $2, and that will actually create a lot of interest, because I don't think we can get to that level at this stage when you actually use the sun and you use the seawater. But at the same time, the Australians are showing that you can be a latecomer, but rather you can gain ground fast. And you must see that, the conferences they're having there, the invitations you get, what people are saying about the potential for hydrogen is huge. It's become a huge conversation overnight, because suddenly the world is conscious of hydrogen. You see, the Germans coming into Southern Africa. They've given more than €5,000 to the Southern African setup here called SASCOL, and they're asking them to make sure that they get everybody geared up to produce green hydrogen, because Germany is going to need green hydrogen in large quantities, and they want to get it at a reasonable price, and they want to make sure there are several sources that they can get it from. That's obviously the right thing to do. So it is on the lips of many people, hydrogen. We should be really much firmer. At the moment, I'd say that maybe Namibia is really taking the lead in this, when you see the link between Germany and Namibia and how they're going forward. So we must see the competitive juices are starting to flow. Let's get in there and produce our green hydrogen at least below $3 a kilogram, which I think we can do, and get that into Japan and get it into other markets that are looking, Germany, that want it at the moment.
And lastly, Martin, can you tell us about Pan-African Resources' 150 million rand solar PV project that authorities are supporting?
You see, here's another gold from tailings project. And you can see the mouth-watering return you get there. Their costs, all in sustaining costs, are $660 an ounce. So that, at a gold price that's going at such a height at the moment, that gives an enormous margin. And at the same time, you see that these companies that come in with a smaller size of solar plant, the authorities sort of welcome them in and give them all sorts of support, as we've seen there with the Ilikulu project that they're putting up out in Mpumalanga. That Ilikulu project has been a winner, and now it's going to be even more of a low-cost winner, because the authorities are giving every bit of support for them to come in with a below 10 megawatt solar plant, and on a site that has been disturbed. So you don't have that issue of having to get an environmental impact assessment. So they can fly forward here and cut their costs. And I think that the gates should be opened even to the bigger projects by the likes of Eskom and by the likes of NERSA and by the likes of the Department of Minerals and Energy, to actually get our economy moving. These sort of things really get economy moving, and for a very good cause. They cut costs dramatically, and at the same time they clean up the environment. So it's a win-win-win. And let's take an example of the way the authorities have dealt laudably to actually do everything they can to get this Pan-African project going. Let them apply it everywhere. And if they do have to do it in the 10 megawatt range, then these mines should probably plan a 10 megawatt, and while they're planning that, plan another 10 megawatt, because you can do this in a modular fashion. It's quite modular friendly. And we could do so much here in such a short time, because you need to be quick off your mark at the moment. Get things done that can be fast. And all the things that I've mentioned are things we can do fast, and we should do them now.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.